studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Thank you for tuning in to Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Welcome to your news at noon. These are the top stories we are tracking in the Kaieteur newspaper as well. Government prints $200 billion debt for future generations. Guyana lost $137 billion to oil companies in 2020. And Speaker bars debate on economic analysis of gas to shore project. Tells Patterson not obligated to give reasons. Murder suspect captured. Ganja found in prison's chicken pen. Ombudsman office without investigators manages to resolve 37 of 87 cases in 2 years. New GECOM CEO sworn in, and a $50 million agro-processing facility for and more. Stay tuned to stay informed.
This Christmas, unlock a new digital world with 50% off selected smartphones from Digicel. Includes a 30-day Prime bundle to enjoy all your favorite Digicel apps. Buy the DL3 Pro for $9,750. The DL3 Pro Plus for $13,750. Or Samsung A03 for $26,000. Get it for yourself or gift it to someone you love. Visit a Digicel store today. Digicel. Better together this Christmas.
And now for the news in detail. Both the APNU-AFC coalition and the PPPC governments, by the end of 2020, had racked up a whopping $163.3 billion illegal overdraft in the national coffers, the Consolidated Fund. Illegal since bringing the Consolidated Fund into overdraft is in breach of the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act. To rectify the illegal and fiscally embarrassing books for an oil-producing nation, the PPPC administration in May this year approved the sum of $200 billion through the issuance of debentures ranging from 1 to 20 years to raise funds to clear the overdraft. This exercise took effect in June 2021. The damning revelations were made public on Monday when the Auditor General report for 2020, representing spending for both administrations, was made public. For the period 2019 to 2020, Guyana gave away $327 billion in tax exemptions, and unless policy changes are made in the oil sector, GRA predicts these exemptions will only continue to balloon. The Auditor General had found that tax exemptions for 2020 alone totaled $137 billion in foregone revenues, representing 62.75% of total collections by the authority. Meaning, $137 billion foregone through tax exemptions for that period amounts to 62.75% of what was actually collected by the Revenue Authority. Commissioner General Godfrey Stacia, in the report, was keen to note that the award of tax exemptions is not under the control of that agency. He said the tax exemption regime is a matter of policy and therefore only administered by the authority. And now let's tell you, Speaker of the National Assembly, Manzoor Nadir, has thrown out a request by opposition MP David Patterson to debate certain environmental impacts from the proposed gas to shore project, as well as the cost analysis of the initiative when compared to alternative power generating options. Patterson, who is also the shadow oil and gas minister, said that the motion was submitted by him since October last and was seconded by his colleague opposition member Kemraj Ramjatan. Patterson was informed by the clerk of the National Assembly, Sherlock Isaacs, on November 29th that in accordance with Standing Order number 27, the Speaker has altered his motion. Patterson said he was informed that 3 other clauses of his proposed motion had been removed, along with a request for an economic analysis, including the total estimated project cost and alternatives covering energy mix and phased approaches. The clerk indicated, and I quote, "The Honourable Speaker is not obligated under the standing orders to give reasons for altering questions and motions." And moving on. Police on Monday captured 20-year-old Shane Samaru, a labourer of Rosignol Village, West Coast Berbice, who was on the run for murder, and also detained his mother, 36-year-old Irene Sijaran, for allegedly harbouring him. Samaru was nabbed during a search at his mother's residence in Mibikuri, Blackbush Polder. Samaru is accused of fatally stabbing Feroz Khan, Carriage Road, West Coast Berbice, on August 19th with a pointed piece of wood. Police had been searching for Samaru since August. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. We will return after the break.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. Prison guards on Monday last unearthed 161 grams of marijuana hidden in the New Amsterdam prison's chicken pen. According to police, the illegal substance was discovered around 15 hours 30 and was found wrapped in 2 transparent compact plastic wraps. Investigators are currently questioning the inmates to find out who might have stashed the drugs there. In other news, in its 2020 annual report, the Office of the Ombudsman, which is headed by retired Justice Winston Patterson, complained of being without investigators to carry out field investigations. According to the report, the situation has been ongoing for several years, with the Public Service Ministry previously committing to appoint an investigator. This promise, however, has never materialized. As such, the report noted that out of some 87 complaints received between 2019 and 2020, only 37 were resolved. Of the 87 complaints, 64 were within the jurisdiction of the Ombudsman's office, while 28 of them are still pending with the relevant authorities, and 23 were out of the jurisdiction of the office. Vishnu Prasad yesterday took the oath of office and was officially sworn in as the country's newest CEO and Commissioner of Registration of GCOM. The elections body had been without a CEO since August last, after the Commission took a decision to dismiss Keith Lowenfield, who is currently before the court for his involvement in the alleged rigging of the March 2020 elections and events that followed. In other news, the government is expecting in the near future the realization of a $50 million investment on an agro-processing facility to be built at Enmore on the east coast of Demerara by the Rhodesia Group of companies. On Monday, President Ali posted on his Facebook page a video illustrating an artist's representation of a multi-million-dollar facility. In his teaser, he mentioned that the industrial development investment will create more than 1,000 jobs. In August last, the government, through Go Invest, inked a memorandum of understanding with Caribbean International Distributors Inc., a member of the Rhodesia Group of companies, for the development of a $35 million agro-processing facility at Enmore. And now let's tell you, Canadian-based Guyanese Dr. Jerry Jailal has called on the government to withdraw its proposed amendment to the Natural Resources Fund Act, which seeks to dismantle the 22-member oversight stakeholder group. Dr. Jailal said the administration should instead be seeking to enact more policies to safeguard the funds garnered through oil and gas. Dr. Jailal posited the fund was sitting dormant in a New York account to allow the now administration time to devise a plan on how to take control of it. According to Dr. Jailal, it appears as if the government was figuring out how to have sole authority and unbridled power to spend the oil money. Last week, Vice President Jagdeo had signaled the government's intent to remove the 22-member Oversight Committee, which oversees the fund, citing that this group makes it almost impossible to operationalize the fund. In other news, vendors of the Lit Penitence Market have for some time now been imploring the government to address the deplorable market conditions that are only becoming progressively worse over time, a frustrating state of affairs. We were told by vendors that because the market roof is filled with holes and rotted zinc sheets, when it rains the roof leaks profusely directly into their stalls and would damage goods from time to time. The market is also prone to flooding, which makes it difficult to stock their goods in a secure area. The leakage would also oftentimes lead to vendors working in an uncomfortable state that can have a negative influence on customer service. Some other vendors also lamented the lack of security at the market, as it was only last month a cook was robbed. And just before we head to our COVID-19 update, at the page 7 of the Kaieteur News, let's tell you that the National Assembly on Monday approved amendments to the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances laws, meant to update the legislation to take into account synthetic drugs such as ecstasy and Molly, among others. The amendments now make it an offense for persons found with synthetic drugs that were not catered for under Guyana's laws and to allow for prosecution. According to the UN, some of the new synthetic drugs on the market include methamphetamine, ketamine, fentanyl, as well as MDMA, commonly known as ecstasy or Molly or crystalline. The amendments were presented by Minister of Home Affairs Robeson Ben and received the support of the parliamentary opposition. An 18-year-old man from Region 3 who contracted COVID-19 has died. This is according to the Ministry of Health, which reported yesterday that the teen was an unvaccinated patient. Meanwhile, the ministry in its COVID-19 update recorded 50 new cases, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 38,618. 10 patients are presently admitted into the ICU, 43 persons are in institutional isolation, 757 in home isolation, and 4 in institutional quarantine. To date, a total of 36,784 persons have recovered from the virus. Some people Christmas spoil. It's Kanu that spoiled the people in New York Christmas. Kanu went and seized 2 pounds of cocaine in Christmas cards. Guyanese learning from PPPC and PNC leaders. Leaders live with tricks. Guyanese getting trickier and trickier. And with that, we've come to the end of your News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.